This is Ev from Private Patient Advocates, and I hope you're all doing well. Today, we're going to go over some questions, and some of you have asked questions prior to this presentation. And give me a thumbs up if you like what you're hearing as I speak, so that way I know what I said that interests you. Also, ask me any questions because it's live and it's interactive, and I'd love to help you out. So today I'm going to talk about things that we could do at home uh, to get ready for any kind of healthcare episode that you may be faced with. And prevention is the backbone of my business. And I am a thinker, I'm a puzzle solver, and I'm also a scientist. So but I am very open to any kind of alternative approaches because sometimes having a scientific study is not always the we don't have time for scientific studies. And if we could do something that is for free, that won't harm the body, I'm all for it. So my job is, and my intention is, to help every single person that comes across my path to better understand the human body and how the body works. The body is a system of systems, and these systems all work well together unless we have a problem with blockage of energy, and that leads to uh, misfiring of chemicals in the body, and then it just will manifest into a physical problem or disease. So it started with dis-ease. So my background is in laboratory medicine. Took pre-med classes in college, and specialization in cytotechnology, educational coordinator. And Well, hi there, Denise. How are you? Please ask any questions. And my website that has some content on there, I'm always producing content per request, is www.privatepatientadvocatesinc.com, and check the blog out that has articles in there. I stopped doing the newsletter because I just wanted to be more readily available. This is quicker to just do the videos, and some of the older clients like the newsletter, but it's so cumbersome to do, and I could get 10 times more content out there by using modern technology. So that is the game plan here for private patient advocates. And so some of the things that I thought we would talk about is things that we could do that are free, that help the body. So what are some of the things? The free things, and the approach that I use is very holistic. Holistic means mind, body, and spirit. So those three components of the body work together. The body is the physical, the mind, and the spirit are the invisible. And as we know now with quantum physics, the body is made up of energy. And so, I worked with the microscope so many years, and the looking at the cells, on a cellular level, I used to think, wow, that's really tiny. And one day I realized, sitting there at the microscope, that the distance between me and the cells was the same distance as me to the sun. So it was like 10 times to the plus 22 and 10 times to the minus. And there I am in the middle. The little book was called The Power of 10. But all I knew is it was great distance. But I never realized that the distance of the cells going in was so far in. So we go into the nucleus. I looked at cellular changes a lot. And when you went into the nucleus, you find that there's DNA, and then you look at the DNA and there's molecules, and then you look at the molecules and you say, okay, so what's inside of that? And they found out nothing but black, empty space. Of course, it had energy. So now scientists are looking at, and they've been looking at, the energy component to the body. And that's always been a passion of mine, the invisible world. Um, I'm very much involved with the spiritual sense of the world. Just because we don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I mean, you don't see love, but you know it exists. You don't see um, you don't see sunlight. I mean, you see light, but you don't see the rays. You don't see microwaves. You don't see radio waves, but they exist. You don't see electricity, but it exists. So, all that is very important to understand, that the human body works on pure energy, and our thoughts create energy. So, that's why it's very important to look at things in a very positive way. We have that choice. And what one of the things I found in the last 4 to 5 weeks was that I really did get sucked into this the media and everything else, because for the last 5 years before this virus, I never watched the news. I had given it up. And I lived in a very wonderful state. If something were to happen, I would find out. If I wanted to look up something, because I'm a huge researcher, then I would look it up. But to sit there and have these news channels, even for 30 minutes, was too much for me. And then I thought, well, Ev, you better just hop into reality. And, it's a critical time right now, and look and see what's going on. Well, boy, that was an eye opener, because it's an eye opener anyhow when it has to do with healthcare. But this was a huge eye opener for everyone. So, people, you need to take really good care of yourselves. And hospitals are the wonderful places to go when you have an acute problem. When I say acute, that means that you had an accident, you fell down and broke stuff, and you have to get it fixed right away. You got hit by a car, you cut off your finger. I mean, that is an acute problem. So, what I'm asking you to do, and it's a challenge, is to look at your lifestyle, look at you, look in the mirror, and see what are the different ways that you could start right now to keep yourself out of the chronic disease realm, to keep yourself out of hospitals, and to keep yourself healthy. There are so many things that you could do. So, on the invisible side, you want to have a spiritual component for your life. It's so important. You want to understand that these that the thoughts that are invisible are very powerful. And if the thoughts, if it's true that your thoughts create your future, I always assumed that. And I said, well, if it's true, then you know what? I'm going to control my thoughts, because I want to control my future. I don't want other people to control my future. So we have choices. And as far as our health, we have all the choices in the world. The problem is, you need to find good information. And I hope I'll be the one to either direct you to good information, or to actually give you the information myself. So, the invisible world is all about your breathing. It's all about meditation. It's all about shutting down the outside world and quieting yourself down, so you could release good chemicals in your brain that are beneficial for you, that help you heal, that boost your immune system, that give you a sense of joy. All that is for free. And it's also a way that your creator, or your guide, or your God or your angels talk to you. But if you pray and pray and pray and you don't stop to quiet yourself down so you could hear and get the nudges and know that that is a good nudge, you'll never get the message. So, this is a good time to look at your lifestyle, to look at uh, the different components of your lifestyle that you could start changing today. So, some of the basics being in sunlight. Sunlight is UV light. It kills bacteria, kills viruses, and it promotes vitamin D in your body naturally. You know, your body has a whole pharmacy right inside of it. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to swallow a pill. You don't have to pay a thing. When your body runs well and is healthy, it has all the chemicals and pills or biochemistry that it needs to work well. If you eat the right foods, you will nourish that body to have the proper chemistry to make the body work well. So remember, everything is set up in the body to do the right thing, to take care of you, because the body was designed to heal itself. So, you could say, well, why am I so sick? It's a good question. Many years ago, I was very, very, very sick. And, the doctors told me I had chronic fatigue. I'd be laying in bed for the rest of my life. But my children were babies. Um, didn't stick. That wasn't true. I had carpal tunnel. I had Raynaud's. I had allergies. I had so many things. I can't even go on. The point is that the body healed. And then I started understanding that, geez, these illnesses were moving around, like thyroid. And from thyroid, I had a cyst. And then the cyst, I had something else. But uh, it, it was almost like emotional energies were causing different health concerns. Uh, I found out later on that your emotions will create some unhealthy balances in the body that could provide illnesses. So it's something to always consider, that when things are not running 100% the way you want them in your body, take a look. What is your body telling you? If you are in pain, your body is trying to tell you something. Either you're overworking something, overtaxing something, or you're stressed out. Now, stress is the number one killer this day and age. It causes cholesterol to go up. It causes your blood pressure to be elevated. So you could do so many things to relieve and control your stress. Easiest thing is to breathe, breath work. So you just inhale, hold it on the inhale for as long as you can, and then exhale, and exhale longer than the inhale. And at the very end, squeeze your belly button in as far as you can to get all the oxygen out. Do you know that people were saying for the COVID virus that these breathing exercises were helping these patients with their lung capacity and to strengthen their lungs so it would not progress into more debilitating problem? So it's very interesting how the body works, but the body will heal itself. And the body also has a built-in immune system. The immune system is the natural vaccine. We don't really need vaccines. And honestly, I'm one of those people where, you had to have the vaccine. When I worked in the hospital, they pushed the flu shot on you. And every time I would take it, I would get real sick. I was just one of those people. So finally, after a lot of discussion with my doctors, I said, I'm just not tolerant with these vaccines. And I would never get sick. The only time I would get sick is if I had a vaccine. So they noted it on my chart, and I don't get the vaccines for the flu. So that helps, and I'm healthy. I mean, I don't remember missing time off of work ever. So in the last 10 years. Um, so it's a blessing, but I do work at the mind, body, spirit components, and I limit myself with negativity, toxic personalities, toxic environments, toxic food, toxic air. I try my best to balance my life, and that's what I'm going to ask you to do, and find how that will benefit your lifestyle, and let me know what changes you see. I know I was eating a little more meat than I usually eat. I used to be a vegetarian before it was a vegan thing. I'm not a vegan. I don't think I could ever do that. But vegetarian, I could do a little bit of vegetarianism, but every now and then I listen to my body, and sometimes I need a little meat or red meat or fish. So, but I increased the plant the plant component of my diet. And for some reason, I was noticing that my blood pressure was going up. Now, my typical blood pressure is like 98 over 63 all my life. But then it started going up. Then I was happy when it went up to like 120 over 80. I felt like, oh, this is great. I bend over, I don't get dizzy. So, what happened though? I was eating a little more meat than I used to eat, and the blood pressure kept getting higher and higher. And I thought, let me go back to plant based and just supplement with a little bit of meat, maybe every week or every 2 weeks, put some meat in there, not necessarily red meat either. Do you know within 1 week, my blood pressure went down to 97 over 66, something like that, and it stayed that way. So it doesn't take long for your body to respond to a change. And your cells, we have trillions of cells in our body. So your cells are constantly dying and making new ones, dying and making new ones. So after about 30 to 90 days, you're a brand new you. And after a few years, your bones are all new. The old part of the bone is gone, and the new part is all replenished. So we are what we eat. Remember that. Um, One of the other questions was, well, what do you do? What are the first things to do as far as to be ready for going into the hospital? Well, have your appropriate paperwork done, and I have a checklist on my website, www.privatepatientadvocatesinc.com, and you could find the forms in there, or the list of the checklist, and you could print it out and use that. In other words, be prepared for the absolute worst, because I always carry around my umbrella. This is my analogy. If I carry around my umbrella and I keep it in the car, and I have like a rain hat or something, you know what? I never get rained on. It's not a problem. And half the time it doesn't rain. So it's called being prepared. It's so much, and prevention. It's so much easier to prevent. So we're going to make this video 30 minutes. If you like what you hear, give me a thumbs up. If there are things that you want me to talk about on the next video, just drop me a line over there or DM me. I'd love to help you out. I'm here for you. This is my mission. I'm always available for a consultation over the phone. It's free of charge. I'm here to help. And so my focus is about getting you to understand that you are in control of your health, and doctors are not always trained in nutrition, but there are a lot of great nutritional experts out there that can help you. And if you have issues with digestion or any of that, just be mindful. Eat something slow it down and pay attention. And if you have any problems when you eat, now you got to break it down and do an analysis. And it's so interesting how many people will not do that. I don't understand why, but for me, it was just as easy to kind of look at, what is causing me these problems. It took me 10 years to figure out that I couldn't tolerate high fructose corn syrup. It was giving me a rash. It also took me a long time to figure out that gluten was bothering me. Now, I'm not celiac, but it does bother me. It gives me um, joint pain, So all that means is it causes inflammation. So inflammation is, again, your immune system, sending out all the soldiers to kill or get rid of, clean up. It's an army to get rid of the enemy, the foreign body, the invaders that are causing dis-ease. And it's something that we need to pay attention to. So do you want to mask that dis-ease, or do you want to prevent that dis-ease by not causing it? So it's a whole different mindset. I follow a lot of different people. I was asked to listen to Dr. Shiva, Shiva, and he has so many degrees in bioengineering. I believe it's from MIT. He's very, very smart, way smarter than I am, but he understands the mechanics and the systems of the body. And he went back to his culture in India, and he studied what his grandmother used to do healings, and how she could look at people and knew what was bothering the system. So he integrated that knowledge and immunity, and brilliant man. So he is someone that I feel is very knowledgeable on that subject. I know sometimes he does get political, but he follows the facts, and that's what I like. I like the facts, and I like to look at stuff. And when I look at stuff and it doesn't add up, if I see that 1 and 1 is 7, I go, wait a minute, there's something missing, because 1 and 1 is not 7. So with this whole epidemic that we've all experienced, I've been looking at numbers, and that's my scientific background. I mean, I was highly trained to think and to analyze and to make deductions and intelligent understandings and hypotheses, and say, okay, what can this be? And then just go through and sift and sort until something makes sense. And all I could say is very little made sense. Things were not adding up. So now more and more people are digging and churning, and so we're going to find out more. But the thing is, we're all human, excuse me. And when we go to doctors' offices and we get a checkup by one particular person, and they recommend that whatever the recommendation is, it's always a great idea to run it by someone else. And if your gut is saying no, then it's a no. And then do more research. That's what people do with me. They call me up and they say, can you look this up? Because I really feel like this is a problem. And whenever they tell me that, I jump on it. Like one lady said, ever since I was taking these eye drops, I was having problems in the urinary tract. And believe it or not, she got a papillary carcinoma of the bladder from this medication, these drops. And I did an extensive research, and I found the information that she needed. And unfortunately, Her children did not stand by her. And so she went through a lot of suffering, but it all worked out. I mean, she's still alive. That's a good thing. I had another person call me up and ask me, this was all over the phone, by the way. A lot of the people now I help over the phone because of the situation that we're in with so many lockdowns. And a lot of people can't even go into the nursing homes or assisted living places because they're locked down. So I work with giving people information over the telephone, and it works very well. But I had this one lady call up, and I was on a business trip, and it was an emergency, and she felt her father was not going to make it in this hospital that he was at. So I said, just give me the nurse advocate over there at that hospital. So we had a little conversation, and then all day we were back and forth, talking to this one, talking to that one. And believe it or not, within a 24-hour period, by the grace of God, we got her father out of the hospital. And boy, no one was more relieved than I was, because I said, not another one. Had another case where a gentleman was in a very exclusive, expensive, top of the line assisted living place, and met with the family. And this particular man had irreversible medical damage. So I did all the paperwork on it, and it was submitted to the attorney, and they had to sue for irreversible medical damage. And I see a lot of that. So that's when I pivoted my business model, and I made it more of a prevention, and I help people get their ducks in a row. Don't call me when you need me, because a lot of times it's too late. Call me when you don't need me. Call me when you want to get things ready. So when you want to get things ready, you just look at it like, if this is the end of the day and I'm going to be checking out, do you have your funeral expense? Do you have the funeral last wishes and all that, and your final resting place in order? Are your files in order, where if someone other than you had to come in and extract data, would they know where to go? Is all that stuff in place? I know it's very morbid. No one wants to think about that, but please, you don't know how much time and grief you saved your loved ones by having stuff in order, your advanced medical directive, um, the right for durable power of attorney, all those different paperworks. Have a list of your bank accounts, and don't be running around with your social security card. Make a copy of it or something, because if you lose your passport or birth certificate or the social security card, it's almost impossible to duplicate. So my services are very holistic, and I look at the whole picture. So when I come in and I help out the client, I look at the gaps and I go, okay, this is all in order, and that's really good. And let's get a 3-ring binder and let's put it here. And what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? And then I meet them halfway and we get things in order. So I thank you again for all your time, because I know time is precious. I deal with children, I deal with men, and I deal with women, mostly women, and mostly professional women. And I'm just the resource for you, and I'm happy to serve. And it's an honor and a privilege. Until the next time, keep those questions coming in, and be safe, and better days are coming. Have a great day.